Vocation has to do with servanthood, humble servanthood. Vocation, therefore, is to be available to others for the service of God. That is why when a person is serving and humbly serving, he is not concerned about power, he is not concerned about honor, he is not concerned about gains. His greatest concern is whether he has made a difference in the lives of his fellow men. And so it is important, once again, to understand the meaning of vocation. Vocation means it is first and foremost a call from God. A call from God according to the charisms that the Lord has blessed us with. God has given each one of us different charisms, different skills, different temperaments, so that we can serve not just the church, but the world. All these charisms, resources that the Lord has given to us, they are not for ourselves, but always for the service of others. So vocation is really a call from God to give your life, to follow Jesus in that service. As Jesus was also in the second reading from Hebrews, Jesus the high priest who gave his life for us. And so today we are called to be like the suffering servant in the first reading, where we are called to reach out. But vocation, although it's a call from God, this call is manifested in that this call is explicitly formulated by the community. How do you know that the Lord is calling you to a certain vocation in life? It is the community that calls. That is why, whether it's a religious vocation, whether it's a priestly vocation, or in the case of installation of parish priest, the bishop is the one who calls on behalf of God. No one chooses to be a priest. No one can demand to be a priest. No one can demand to be in a position. I didn't tell Rome I must be the bishop, you know. It is a calling. And because it is a calling, it depends on the response. And the calling comes from the community. And so how do you know that it's a vocation? When the community calls you. And this community very often is represented by the head of the community. In the case of the parish, it's the parish priest. In the case of diocese, it's the bishop. And so this is where, but this call also comes from this identification with the sufferings of others. And therefore, a person who is called is one who is identified with his brothers and sisters. Like this suffering servant. By his sufferings shall my servant justify many, taking their faults on himself. In order to serve, you must feel with others and for others. Why is it that some of you are serving in the hospice? Why is it some of you are serving in a particular ministry, the choir, whatever it is? It is because of a certain charisms that you have and a certain calling. If you have been an ex-prisoner, then you will have a calling to serve in the prison ministry. Not to say all those who serve in the prison ministry are ex-prisoners. What I'm trying to say, therefore, is that this calling comes because of this identification. And so, you know, my dear brothers and sisters, this morning, I invite you to reflect for yourself. Regardless of who you are, what work you do. You can be a doctor, you can be an accountant, you can be a teacher. It is immaterial. What is important is, do you see the work you're doing as a career for advancement, just to make money? Or do you see that as a service to society, a service to humanity? All of us, there is only one vocation. It's a vocation to love. Whether we are priests, whether you are in your secular work, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that we do it for the right motive. And this motive is to be of service to humanity. And if you transform your career if you transform your work into a vocation, then you will have this integrity of life, that you become who you are and what you do. That is why today in the second reading we are told that Jesus is not simply the high priest. Every time we celebrate the Eucharist, Jesus is both priest and victim. A priest is not one who just offers sacrifices. A priest is one who makes himself the victim of their sacrifice. That is the reason why every time for us, priests especially, when we serve the Eucharist, it is not simply to be in the Eucharistic celebration and say, this is my body, this is my blood, repeating after Jesus. It's more than that. A priest who celebrates the Eucharist is identified with Jesus, identified with the people that he served, and when he said, this is my body, this is my blood, he is saying, this is me. I am going to join Jesus in that sacrifice as well. Being a priest is 24 hours. It's not only when we celebrate Mass. Being a priest is a whole life of sacrifice, dying, laying our lives down for the people. That is even more difficult. To celebrate Mass is easy. 1 hour is finished. Half an hour can gone. But your whole life is a sacrifice. That is what it means to be a priest. Every minute dying to ourselves. And you know, my dear brothers and sisters, all of you share in the priesthood of Christ Jesus. And so you notice the integrity of life. When you live that kind of life, you will find happiness. Then it is never difficult to suffer for others, because you suffer for love. That's why those of you who complain a lot about your work, those who are not happy with your work, what are you doing? What's the problem? You are having the wrong motives. For you it's just a work, some money to be made, a job to be done. It is never for me. For me, everything I do is always for the glory of God, for the service of humanity. Everything I do, I'm conscious that I'm ambassador of the Lord. I'm here to bring life to others. I'm here to bring love of Jesus to others. I'm here to enlighten, to liberate, to empower, to enrich people. That is my whole life. Whatever I do as a priest, whether I'm teaching, whether I'm celebrating Mass, whether I'm eating, the motive is very clear. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, if you have this kind of conscious motive for what you are doing, then you will find your work a great joy and become a blessing to others. My dear brothers and sisters, this is my challenge to all of you. Be happy people. Transform, and especially your children. Don't just tell them to have an ambition. What's the use? He can be a Harvard trained. He can have 2-3 degrees. He's all for himself. Next time when he graduates, what will happen? He will migrate to another country. He will leave you all here to rot. Do you think they'll come back to see you? Once in 10 years. And the next time at your funeral, if he comes back at home. But if you give them a vocation, they will be people who are capable of love, capable of service, and they will always be happy, regardless of where they are and who they are.